Hi, I'm Kieran, and I'm going to tell you about the most important video game ever made. But I want to see if you can guess what it is, so I'm going to give you a few hints. Your first hint, it's a side-scrolling action game. Your second hint, it was part of the original launch lineup for the NES. Third hint, you play as a hero who must traverse several action-packed levels to save a damsel in distress. And my final hint, it would go on to be one of the most successful video games of 1985. Time's up. Did you get it? That's right. The answer is none other than Kung Fu.
Kieran, are they booing me?
No, they're saying Kung Fu. Kung Fu.
Are you saying boo or kung fu?
I was saying Kung Fu. Now that probably wasn't the answer you were expecting. But let me take you back in time and tell you a little bit about this 1984 arcade smash hit by Irem. Kung Fu Master was released in arcades in November of 1984 and later ported to the NES in 1985. It would go on to be one of the most successful arcade games that year due to its impressive graphics and gameplay that was unlike anything at the time. This game blew people's minds. To get where I'm coming from, you need to understand the state of video games in the early 80s. The industry was still very much in its infancy, and very few games at the time had just begun to benefit from a little innovation known as side-scrolling.
Well, duh.
Kung Fu Master came out 2 years before I was born, and I played my first video game in 1991, so for me, side-scrolling games have always just been a thing. But think of some of the most popular games to come out up until 1984. Space Invaders, Asteroids, Pac-Man, Donkey Kong. The entirety of all these games took place here, confined to the boundaries of a single screen. And I know those games have different levels, but my point is, even if the stage changes, the game never leaves this. The advent of side-scrolling expanded the world and let us see what lies beyond the confines of the screen. Now, Kung Fu Master isn't the first side-scrolling game ever made, but it did things much differently than its predecessors. A lot of side-scrollers before it had automatically scrolling screens and mostly featured spaceships or other vehicles. Eventually, character action side-scrollers started coming out, like Jungle King, Pac-Land, and Circus Charlie. And I just want to say really quick, Circus Charlie is such a good game. Mwah! I love it. Kung Fu Master was really the turning point, and its gameplay style became the standard going forward. It was the very first beat-em-up game. I mean, just think of it. The idea of a guy walking to the right and sometimes the left, punching and kicking guys. Wow! That was weird, but I might keep that one. Easily one of the most popular video game categories of all time, and still enjoyed to this very day. Kung Fu Master was the prototype that created a genre and inspired countless classics. Without Kung Fu Master, we wouldn't have Double Dragon, Bad Dudes, Final Fight, Streets of Rage, or the awesome Konami beat-em-ups from the 90s. Not to mention my personal favorite, Taito's Growl.
Hey, come on! 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 Hey, come on!
So creating the beat-em-up genre is pretty damn important, but I can tell you're still not completely convinced. But what if I were to tell you that Kung Fu Master is directly responsible for saving the entire video game industry as we know it? Kung Fu Master was created by Takashi Nishiyama after his work on another impressive side-scroller of the time, Moon Patrol. It was inspired heavily by martial arts movies, specifically Wheels on Meals and Game of Death. In it, you play as Thomas, a dude fighting his way up a tower to save his girlfriend Sylvia. You fight a bunch of different enemies on your way, and at the end of each level, you face off against its boss. These boss fights gave Nishiyama an idea. What if there were a game that was just one-on-one fights? Right around the release of Kung Fu Master, Karate Champ and YR Kung Fu would also release, further inspiring Nishiyama's idea of making a fighting game. However, before Kung Fu Master was even completed, Nishiyama would leave Irem and begin developing games for a different company. Think you might know where this is going? That company was none other than Capcom. And that crazy little idea about a one-on-one fighting game would lead Nishiyama to create the two-player one-on-one mode for Trojan on the NES. Okay, I'm just kidding. But the arcade game Trojan was created by Nishiyama as a spiritual successor to Kung Fu Master. And the two-player mode for the NES version is technically Capcom's first fighting game ever. For real. But of course, he also created Street Fighter. Oh, wait, no, not this one. He made the first Street Fighter.
Dragon Punch! You are no man for me.
So yeah, Street Fighter 1. It's not great. But either way, it ended up being a bit of a success, and it was an impressive game at the time. The graphics look great for 1987, and also, Ryu has a red mullet. Nishiyama would end up leaving Capcom before production on Street Fighter 2, but he did create the franchise, and he also created the iconic Hadouken. Hadouken! Upon leaving Capcom, Nishiyama went to SNK, where he helped create the Neo Geo arcade system and Street Fighter 2's very first competitor, Fatal Fury. Little side note, I actually speedrun Fatal Fury. I got a time of, I think, 10 minutes. I'm actually second in the entire world out of 2 people, and specifically for the PlayStation 4 version. Anyway, because of Kung Fu Master, we were given one of the most successful fighting game franchises of all time and its first major competitor. This kicked off the fighting game craze that would revitalize the arcade industry throughout the 90s, leading to the creation of numerous classic titles that we enjoy to this very day. So no Kung Fu Master, no Street Fighter, no Street Fighter 2, no Fatal Fury, no Mortal Kombat, and especially no Time Killers. Time Killer. But I know what you're thinking. Creating the beat-em-up genre, inspiring Street Fighter, that might make Kung Fu Master an important video game, but not the most important video game. I mean, what about Super Mario Bros? Super Mario saved the video game industry from the dreaded crash of the early 80s. It was a cultural phenomenon and a revolutionary video game. I mean, everyone on Earth would probably say that Super Mario Bros. Is the most important video game ever made. Well, what if I were to tell you that Super Mario Bros. Wouldn't exist if it weren't for Kung Fu? Going back to that original NES launch library I talked about earlier, of all the games, Kung Fu and 10-Yard Fight are the only ones that weren't originally created by Nintendo. They were IREM games. For 10-Yard Fight, IREM handled development, but remember, Nishiyama had already left for Capcom at this time, so for Kung Fu, the development had to be handled by an internal team at Nintendo. And heading up that team in the director role was none other than Shigeru Miyamoto. Kung Fu was the game he worked on right before Super Mario Bros. And in an interview commemorating the 25th anniversary of Super Mario Bros., Miyamoto stated it was his work on Kung Fu that helped him create the innovative and other most important video game ever made, Super Mario Bros. Kung Fu was the Marty McFly playing Johnny Be Good at the Enchantment Under the Sea dance, and Shigeru Miyamoto is Chuck Berry's cousin playing the music on the phone so they can invent rock and roll. Yeah. Here's the thing. Kung Fu Master, though unassuming and simple by today's standards, is an underrated masterpiece that helped shape the video game industry as we know it. I keep saying things like, without Kung Fu Master, we wouldn't have this and we wouldn't have that. But really, what would have happened if it didn't exist? Truthfully, there's no way of knowing. Maybe another game like it would come along, or maybe all these games it inspired would have come out anyway even without it. But either way, in this reality, Kung Fu Master is that game. It's the bridge between what was seen as a quick experience, or a novelty, or a distraction, and an adventure that would shape the future of the industry on into the current day. It influenced the most influential. And that is why Kung Fu Master is the most important video game ever made.